Evil brushed my psychic senses, a dark wind that pulled me from a deep sleep. The magic that protected the cafe above which I lived remained undisturbed, so whatever I sensed wasn't close. That didn't mean it wasn't a threat, however. I tossed off the sheets and padded naked from my bedroom. The air was still and heavy with heat, and sweat prickled my skin. Though December wasn't usually the hottest month of summer, the last couple of days had been unbearably hot. Worse, the nights hadn't dropped below 25 degrees Celsius. I normally didn't mind the heat, but pregnancy seemed to have changed all that. Moonlight filtered through the glass sliding doors at the far end of the living room, bright enough to sweep aside the shadows that normally held the room captive. The moon was full tonight, which meant the 3 werewolf packs that lived within the Phelan reservation would be out and running. Aiden would be with them. The mere thought stirred the ache in my heart and sharpened the longing in my soul. I loved the damn man, and I had no doubt he loved me, but pack politics continued to get in the way of our relationship. The fact that his mother, who remained pack alpha despite the death of her mate, hated witches in general and me in particular wasn't helping matters. But werewolves weren't the only ones called by the full moon. Witches, particularly dark witches, often used her power and beauty to fuel their spells. That dark wind had held an undercurrent of magic. I had no idea whether it was connected to the evil I sensed, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. The Phelan reservation was regularly invaded by all manner of supernatural and demonic types, thanks to the largest of her 2 wellsprings being left without any sort of protections for well over a year. Wild magic, the raw, unbridled power that came from deep within the earth, was neither good nor bad, but if left unguarded for any length of time, it always caught the interest of those wanting to claim its power for themselves. Sometimes those claimants were human, but mostly they were not. I grabbed one of the hairbands sitting on the coffee table, then opened the sliding door and stepped out onto the balcony. A soft breeze stirred around me, but its touch was heated and did little to cool. I swept my hair up into a ponytail, then walked over to the balcony and leaned on the top railing. This portion of Castle Rock was basically a retail area, so the street below was empty. Probably a good thing, given my nakedness. The moon rode high in the sky, and her power sang through me, fierce and bright. It made me itch to run, to feel the soil between my toes, the brush of leaves against bare skin, and to raise my voice with the rest of the pack in praise of the moon's glory. But I wasn't a werewolf, even if I carried the child of one. I had no idea if it was her presence, however bean-like she might yet be, causing the need to run, or if it was simply a result of my deepening connection to the land and the wild magic, a magic that was now changing my DNA. And yet, for all the enhancements it was making, both physical and magical, it could never do the one thing that would truly make a difference to my life. It could never make me a werewolf. A gossamer thread of wild magic drifted toward me. I raised a hand and it slipped around my wrist, a fragile moonbeam that pulsed with a deep sense of kinship and an even deeper sense of urgency, though I had no idea why. The thread belonged to the main wellspring. My wellspring, as I now thought of it, which was located within the O'Connor compound. Apparently, the wild magic had gotten fairly volatile during my absence, causing rock slides and minor quakes, but things appeared to have settled since I arrived back home. But if the almost agitated pulsing coming from this thread was anything to go by, something was still going on, and I had no real way of uncovering what. The wellspring might well be gaining some form of sentience, but it wasn't like I could communicate with it, even if I could use and direct its power, and it wasn't as if I could approach the spring, given its location.